Bam ba bam 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 ba bam 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 ba 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 bam bam ba bam bam. Welcome to the Apex University. It's kind of like the Ohio State, but really fuck Ohio State. It's all about USC. This is gonna be a brand new series where I'll be giving you guys some tips on how to improve at Apex Legends, and in reality, probably every FPS as well. For the very first video of this series, we're going to be discussing Apex tip number 1, healing. At face value, a lot of you guys may be thinking, what is there to learn about healing? If I'm weak, I need to heal. If I'm not weak, I don't need to heal. It's actually a lot more complex than that, and that's what I hope to convey to you guys in this video. And so, in this video, we'll be going over several subjects regarding healing, such as what kind of heals you should carry, when you should and should not heal, retreating and knowing how to retreat so that you can heal, knowing when to cancel your heals if necessary. If that's unclear, we'll get to that later, of course. And lastly, knowing when to armor swap versus finishing. So let's get into the video. Let's start with the first tip, knowing what kind of heals to carry. Your shield is your first line of defense. Having full shield is what prevents the enemy team from just full on aping you every time. Once they get through that shield, in that moment, the enemy team knows that you are compromised. You're vulnerable. And so it doesn't even matter if you have 100% HP in terms of your health. When that shield is gone, it changes the entire dynamic of that fight. So this should tell you to prioritize your shield batteries more than anything. That's because in just 5 seconds, you can go from 0 shield to 100% of your shield, depending on whatever color shield you have. That's the quickest and most effective way to get back into that fight. And so this is the exact reason why I carry a copious amount of shield batteries all the time. Shield cells are good only if you don't have any batteries, and also if you're not trying to waste any batteries. Because with purple armor, if you're trying to heal up your shield with just cells, that's going to take you about 12 seconds. Much more time consuming. And so your first line of defense and something you should prioritize all the time should be your shield batteries. And the same thing goes for medkits. It takes 8 seconds to fully heal up your health and is much more efficient than just using syringes. But even then, both shield cells and syringes have a purpose, but these are just things that you should only use if you absolutely have to. Other than that, big heals are the best. Going back to the medkits really quick, if you have no shield, then the medkit can only heal you up maximum 100 HP. Your flesh heals are going to be your last line of defense, because once you run out of that, you die. But let's say you're very weak and you only have about 10 HP. You could pop a medkit, which would be fine, but like I mentioned, that'll only give you a maximum 100 HP, and it takes 8 seconds. But if you pop the battery instead, let's say with purple armor, you still have that remaining 10 HP left over. And so when you pop that battery, you now have 110 HP in only 5 seconds. Shield batteries are much more efficient. So that's why I always tend to prioritize shield batteries. And so the best composition for heals that you can have in your backpack is going to be 4 shield batteries at least, 1 Phoenix kit, 2 med kits, 8 shield cells, and 4 syringes. But because shield batteries are so important, if I can help it, I'll be carrying around 8 to 10 shield batteries at all times. The reason I'm taking time to explain this to people is because I have found a lot of people to prioritize other things instead of shield batteries. Sometimes I see people carrying 20 shield cells and 1 battery. That's flat out just stupid. The moral of this story is focus on carrying shield batteries over everything else. Now let's get into the second tip. Knowing when or when not to heal. Simply put, you should heal if you need to, and not heal if you don't need to. This is really all depending on the situation that you're in. There are a lot of people who will become very weak or at least have their shield cracked and run away from the fight. And so now, even in that situation, although you're still alive, since they have panicked and removed themselves from a fight, it's now a 2v3 situation. You are no longer holding an angle for your teammates, and now that your teammates are currently outnumbered, this gives the advantage to the enemy team. So yes, although you were weak and you needed to heal, sometimes it'd be a lot more beneficial if you stay put, heal behind a door to keep yourself within that fight, so you're still holding that angle and helping your team as needed. There may also be another moment when you need to heal because you're very weak, and good enemy players will know that, and so they'll attack either you or primarily your other teammates since you are removed from the fight. And we'll talk about this with an example later when I talk about canceling heals. Although you are weak, if you do notice that your teammates are getting overran, you may have to disregard healing to further assist your teammates out. Like I said, a lot of the times lower skill players will get weak, freak out, and prioritize healing over everything. Depending on the situation, this can end up getting your teammates killed and you killed, and now you're losing points. It's a bit counterintuitive, but a good general rule of thumb is this. At any point of the game, when you're in a fight, You should either be actively fighting, and that could be shooting at the enemy, taking angles, etc. And if you're not doing that, then you should be healing. And so this kind of speaks to my next point. For those of you that take a lot of damage, you guys take so long just to heal and figure out what to do next. You need to be very decisive with your actions. If you're cracked, pop a battery immediately. If you are cracked, but you're not healing, then you should be actively fighting. Any time wasted is crucial to the outcome of that fight. So if you're gonna heal because you need to, be sure to do it quickly. I'm tired of seeing people that are weak running around in circles, panicking, trying to figure out what the hell they need to do. Just pop a bat behind a damn door and get back in the fight. Stop wasting time, damn it. Okay, anyways, next tip. Knowing how to retreat so that you can heal. The 3 R's of Apex: retreat, reassess, re-engage. For this tip, we'll create a scenario where you have to heal. Most of the time, especially if you're a bit overextended, you'll need to retreat to a safe spot to create more distance between you and the enemy so you can heal. And I mentioned this just a bit ago, but when people become weak, they tend to retreat so far, almost miles away from where they're at, just to be able to heal completely and safely. You're gonna have to get comfortable with healing in unsafe environments. One of the biggest mistakes that I see players make is when they're weak, they just run and run and run and run until they find the most safest opportunity for them to heal. That's a time waster. Yeah, you may be alive still, but now your teammates are getting their back blown out because all you're doing is running. Generally speaking, a simple retreat is going to look like you get cracked or you're one tap. Maybe if you're a movement character, you use your abilities to get out. And you find the nearest door, or you find the nearest cover where the enemy team no longer has a line of sight on you. You have to be able to do this quickly because, like I said, the main theme of this video is going to be time wasting. And if you waste too much time trying to find the safest opportunity to heal, chances are you're going to lose that fight. So stop running marathons just to heal. Find cover and heal up immediately, close enough to the fight so that once you do heal, you can reassess the situation and then re-engage without wasting a lot of time because you're relatively close to the fight still. And this is uncomfortable for a lot of players because, like I mentioned, if somebody's very weak, all thoughts kind of go out the window, and staying in that fight would mean potentially that they die, and so they just run and run and run so that they can find the safest place for them to heal. But even though you're still alive, that's the biggest throw that you could do in this game. Next tip, canceling your heals. This is one of my favorite ones because a lot of players don't understand this. Why on earth would I cancel my heal if I'm extremely weak? If I cancel it, I potentially die, and then now I'm throwing the game. Take a look at this video right here. Me and my friend Decoy are in a 2v3 situation against some previous Preds and Masters. I had just got respawned, so I have nothing. Decoy was down bad as well. We both were this game, and he had no heals himself. And this 3-stack is just running it down mid, chasing us down. Notice how horribly they push us though. And so I take the 1v1 with this Bloodhound. I'm able to kill him. I don't have any heals, and I know their duo is going to be rushing us at this moment, so I decided to thirst him and armor swap. Very quick way to get full health. Now I'm actively back in that fight, shooting the Horizon. She's one tap. I drop down, and I'm still not able to kill that Horizon, but thankfully enough, Decoy was able to get her killed. But in the process of that, I become very weak, and so is Decoy. The last guy drops down on Decoy, and I'm popping a cell. It's the only bit of cell that I have. But I know that in this moment, she is going to be distracted by Decoy right now. And by the time she's done with him, she's either going to have to reload her weapon or switch to her other one. So instead of sitting there, popping a cell so I can get more health, I cancel it as she's distracted shooting at my teammate, and I one-mag her right there. That's the only example I'll be able to give you guys right now, but this happens a lot. And realistically, all of these tips are kind of intertwined with one another. And I think this video is a good portrayal of that. Notice how I stay relatively close to the fight and I just find the nearest cover possible. I'm comfortable with staying in uncomfortable situations. I know that if I continue to pop this cell, yeah, it'll give me an extra 25 shield and therefore more health. But if I don't kill her in that moment that she's distracted while she's shooting my teammate, now I'll have to fight a prepared conduit who's full health while I'm only about 50 HP. I would lose that 100% of the time, especially considering that she would have a knockdown to play. And on top of that, it's conduit, so she could just Q herself again. There are many moments like this where you're going to be extremely weak in the process of healing, but you notice that the enemy is so distracted shooting somebody else that it would be best for you to cancel your heal and attack them in that moment. Because at the end of the day, even though you're weak, you're still alive. And if you're still alive, you still have an effect in that fight. And so the moral of this story is, if you are weak and you notice that the enemy is distracted doing something else and you have some cover, cancel that heal and see what you could do. Put a little damage into that person, because if you could do that and get them killed or get them weak enough, now they're out of the fight. And now you buy yourself more time safely so that you can heal. And lastly, knowing when to shield swap versus popping a finisher, or really just popping a battery in that moment. Okay, so we're in a fight. You have no shield or you're really weak. You don't have an opportunity to run away. You get a knock against a guy. More often than not, I will thirst him and armor swap. If you're really good with that, you can do that in about a couple seconds. That's much faster than a finisher and much faster than popping a Phoenix kit or a shield battery or whatever. That is my go-to right there. Armor swapping in a box is the most resourceful and most cost-effective way to heal up. And I think a lot of people understand that. But what a lot of people aren't good with is thirsting. In my time with Apex, I have seen a lot of people try to thirst somebody and take about 10 seconds to do so. You should have just popped the Phoenix kit at that point, bruh. But they're so laser focused on getting that thirst that all that time wasted now allows the enemy team to push you when you're weak and shoot you in the back and kill you. If you are trying to thirst and it takes you more than a couple seconds, stop. Listen to what's going on around you, perhaps pop a battery if you can, and hear if there are enemy footsteps next to you. If not, then resume thirsting, only if it's safe enough to do so. In that moment where you do pause and you're sound whoring for footsteps, if you see somebody approaching you, create more distance and try to pop your bat or any heal if you have any. The last thing that I'll ever do is pop a finisher. A lot of people love to do this because 1, it looks cool, and 2, it does restore your shield 100%. But that's about 5 seconds where you are stuck right there. Most of the time, especially if the enemy team is communicating with one another, they're going to be spamming that ping saying, he's finishing, he's finishing. So a lot of the times the enemy team will push you while you're doing it and kill you in the middle of it. So that really is like the last thing that I'll ever do. The only time that I will do that is if I have the ability to do so. But because I'm so good with thirsting and armor swapping, I rarely find myself ever doing that because it does waste a lot of time. You're extremely vulnerable and it's a big risk. And so if all else fails, stop trying to thirst, find the nearest cover and heal up like you would normally do. I see a lot of people trying to die just to get that thirst so they can armor swap. If it takes you too damn long, stop. You're wasting my time. I'm speaking to all my damn solo queue teammates out there when I'm solo queuing. Anyways, I hope you learned a lot about healing. This is the first video of the Apex University. Go ahead and comment some things that you guys want to see me talk about in a video, and I'll do my best to get to that. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam.